Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and today we're going to talk about getting old and having fun. How does that sound? You know, I might be one of the few people that on YouTube or that you've met that actually sold Wharfedale speakers back in the day. I remember selling the old E-Series, E50, E30, E70, E90, and they were just so much fun to listen to. They were dynamic, they were alive. And we didn't think of them as being a boring company. They were kind of like the JBL of England, but they were still so, well, especially today, they are still so civilized. But if you want to have some fun, man, they're down for it. Now, I often want to pull out some old speakers and compare them to the latest stuff, and I romance it, and I remember them being like so much better than they really were. And if you haven't been to Upscale Audio, you need to come here. I've got a warehouse thing called Kevin's Do Not Inventory. It looks like Raiders of the Lost Ark here, how much stuff there is up in the rafters. But look at what I have. This is a 1950s vintage Wharfedale W40. And I hooked it up, and I was playing Stevie Ray Vaughan, and everything was great while I was listening to the guitar. But then, when it went to vocals, it all started to fall apart. And I forgot how good new speakers are. I mean, even how much they've changed, even inexpensive ones. Yeah, and then that leads me to the new Super Linton Heritage. Now, let's look at what's the super about the Super Linton compared to the standard Linton. I'm going to tell you what the differences are and which one you might want to get. Now, despite it won tons of awards, and it's been covered, the original Linton was the What Hi-Fi Speaker of the Year for 2020. It's won tons of awards, and then when they sold a jillion of them, and enthusiasts were taking them apart and modding them. They were putting different parts in of all different types, different capacitors, different crossover, messing with a cabinet. But some of those mods can be good. Some of them may well be oftentimes bad, and then sometimes they can even be dangerous to your amplifier. So what Wharfedale wanted to do is take this speaker, which is so popular, and see what they could do to really take it up a notch. Now, the guy that started Wharfedale is a guy named Gilbert Briggs, and he said something that was really cool. He said, measurements can hide a multitude of sins. Now, the present guy running everything over there is a guy named Peter Camo, and he feels the same way about that. You know, I read that when they were talking about the new ones, he said it had to be so much more than just fiddling with measurements. And that is true. This is not just a couple of tweaks. This is a complete rework. Man. And it starts here. The cabinets themselves are made out of, there's no chipboard in them now. And they use a resonance-reducing combination of 2 layers of MDF with a special type of an acoustic damping glue in between them, like I did at my house. Now, internally, they're using a damping material, which is a long hair synthetic wool. Now, the tweeter is one of the big deals here. It's a 1-inch fabric dome tweeter that it's taken from their flagship speaker, the Dovetail. And this is a big deal. It has a ceramic magnet motor system, and it's got a balanced and detailed top end that, I mean, it just makes me want to cry when I was listening to it yesterday. The 5-inch Kevlar driver is pretty much the same. However, the sub-enclosure has been changed, and they put material inside of it to reduce resonances and back waves to really clean up the mid-range. Now, the 8-inch Kevlar driver, it has been changed. It's now got a die-cast basket, which is really super stiff. It's got a new improved motor system. Everything's larger inside because they wanted to get more bass, and they did that. This went from a 35 hertz bottom end down to 32 hertz. Hell yeah, man. You can play your Wango Tango, see how it sounds, or I don't know, maybe try Stranglehold. Or does anybody out there even know what those 2 songs are? They reworked the crossover, and it's using 2 boards, and I want to compare it to what they put back in the day. It's a huge difference. They have 2 crossover boards for the mid-range and bass units. And they upgraded the parts. They're using polypropylene capacitors, low inductance resistors, Everything's upgraded, everything. Even the cable is upgraded. They're using a linear crystal oxygen-free copper internal wiring, boom, to make sure it's super clean. Now, both speakers have a nominal impedance of 6 ohms, but don't pay attention to that. The minimum impedance on the old model is 3.5 ohms. Now it's 3.9 ohms, not much different. They're both friendly to tube amps. But you got to remember something. If you've got a tube amp and it's got a 4 and 8 ohm tap, don't look at this being 8 ohms or 6 ohms and determine it that way. You have to try both taps, and it shocks me how many people don't do it. I mean, you might be missing out on the best performance that you can get. Oh man, I mean, but look at this speaker, right? I mean, it's beautiful, and you can get it in 3 different finishes. They've got it in walnut, which is my favorite. Well, I shouldn't tell you what my favorite is. They've got it in walnut, black oak. They've got it in red mahogany. Oh, and then they have these stands, and the stands are bitching because you can stash your records in them. Number 1. Number 2, they match the wood finish. Number 3, they're only like $300, or at least at this time, you know. And look, I love this. I mean, I dig selling speakers that are for 30 grand, 100 grand, all of that stuff. But I think I get more enjoyment out of helping people to get $50,000 sound for $5,000 if it's possible, right? You hook this up to a PrimaLuna EVO 100 like we did in the sound room, and it's just going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. So look, come to our beautiful 10,000 square foot store here in Southern California. I mean, and then our massive warehouse facility. I mean, it's really something to behold. We got a full service department. No one works on commission. We don't jive around. Everyone's an enthusiast. And at Upscale Audio, I promise you this, we are going to treat your system like it's ours. Thank you.